This is Aunt Shazy. Have you ever been to the Great Sand Dunes in Colorado's San Luis Valley? This landscape seems to defy the laws of geography. To the east, there are the jagged, snow-capped peaks of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and to the west, the volcanic San Juan Mountains frame the horizon. But sandwiched in between these alpine giants lies a 30-square-mile sea of sand, the Great Sand Dunes. Home to the tallest dunes in North America, this national park and reserve is a surreal playground where the Sahara meets the Rockies. According to the National Park Service's website, Star Dune and Hidden Dune are currently tied for the two tallest dunes in North America at 741 feet. That's 225 meters from base to summit. But you'll have to be ready for a hike to get there. From the dunes parking lot, it's about 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers down the creek bed to see Star Dune. And then you follow a ridge to the summit. So you're looking at a 6-mile or 9.6 kilometer hike. Not up for a major hike? There's an easy walk behind the visitor center, which is a place you should definitely check out anyways. I'd love to know if you've ever been here or if you've rode or hiked any of the trails. Please comment below. One of the really cool things about the dunes, and trust me, there are plenty of cool things about them, is that there are no official trails, so wander wherever you want. But maybe the coolest thing is sledding and sandboarding on the dunes. You can bring your own or they have a rental station. I think it's currently around $20 a day. And the dunes are really easy to get to from the parking lot. You can also ride ATVs at the park, just not on the main dunes. There are designated areas specifically for riding. We didn't bring ours on this trip, so I can't share a personal experience from this visit. And since we own our own ATVs, we've never taken any of the guided tours, so I can't offer firsthand feedback on those either. So basically all I can tell you is that it is an option. Now for a little bit of history. The story of the Great Sand Dunes is a 440,000-year-old masterpiece of wind and water. It began with the Rio Grande Rift, a massive geological crack that created the San Luis Valley. For millennia, melting glaciers and mountain streams carried sand, silt, and gravel into the valley floor, forming the ancient Lake Alamosa. When the lake eventually drained, it left behind a vast, dry basin of sediment. The prevailing westerly winds took over from there, picking up the fine grains and carrying them towards the Sangre de Cristos. As the wind funneled through the mountain passes, it lost its energy, dropping the sand at the base of the range. However, the dunes don't just march into the mountains. Opposing storm winds from the east push the sand back on itself, causing the dunes to grow vertically rather than just spreading out. This recycling process, aided by the creeks, catches escaping sand and washes it back to the valley floor. Humans have been a part of this landscape for at least 11,000 years. From nomadic Clovis and Folsom hunters to the Ute, Apache, and Navajo tribes who considered the area sacred. The dunes have long been a landmark of wonder, and thanks to locals and the government, it is being preserved. On March 17, 1932, St. Patrick's Day, President Herbert Hoover designated the area a national monument to protect it from gold mining and concrete manufacturing, becoming the 36th national monument in the national park system. Then, on November 22, 2000, Great Sand Dunes National Monument became Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve through an act of Congress. And finally, in 2004, thanks to local efforts to protect the valley's groundwater, it was officially elevated to national park status. We visited the park in the summer about a decade ago, and the kids had a blast playing in the creek and sledding in the sand. But man, that sand can get hot, up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, so make sure you have closed-toed shoes. Late spring is when you'll witness a phenomenon called surge flow. That's when the snowmelt from the mountain creates a wide, shallow river at the foot of the dunes. Waves actually flow across the sand like an ocean tide, creating a seasonal beach. This time we visited in February, and there wasn't a drop of water to be seen. It was 60 degrees, but super windy. I was wearing a beanie, and the wind was still freezing my ears. We didn't spend the night, but I hear the stargazing and night hikes are amazing. As an international dark sky park, the dunes offer some of the best stargazing in the world. I'd love to walk the dunes under a full moon. Now for some pro tips. 1. Always bring more water than you think you need, especially if you're going to hike, as the high altitude and dry air can lead to dehydration quickly. Number 2. Camping might be your best option. Not a lot of places to stay in the area. It was winter, so we stayed in nearby Walsenburg, but also hit up Bishop's Castle, which is free to visit, Aunt Shazy's favorite, so check out our video on that. Oh, and also check online. There are certain days during the year, like the one when we went, that it's actually free to get into the park. As always, thanks for watching, and if you don't mind, hit the like button and leave a comment. It really helps my channel grow, and I'll be extremely thankful.